Hasn't come through yet. Very strange. Okay, I'm just going to start. Hello and welcome to the Social Recruiting Show. I'm Katrina Collier. I'm a social recruiting trainer and speaker. I'm, of course, joined by my gorgeous co-host, who I cannot speak about today, God, Audra Knight, who is an employer branding genius, a bass player, all-round fantastic girl, and never ceases to surprise me. Today, we're very excited to be talking recruiter spam, well, preferably not recruiter spam, but how to improve on it, with Mike Astringer. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Did you say Astringer with an English accent?
No.
Thanks for being here, Mike. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Good. Can you give us a little background of your career and what you're doing now to get us started, please?
So I've been in talent acquisition for 22 years. I currently own Human Capital Consultants. We're a small talent acquisition and human resources consulting firm. We primarily go into the startup space and establish those functions for startups, or into the mid-market and re-engineer them. That's me.
That's you. Cool.
5'11", single, drive a Cadillac. Any ladies interested, reach out to me on LinkedIn. Because I was actually just involved in a conversation this morning, women talking about how they get hit on LinkedIn. And I said, no, I've never been hit on LinkedIn. I'm very disappointed.
I've never been hit on LinkedIn.
I haven't either. But maybe after this show, you'll get lucky.
I just think we need to take a selfie down the top, you know. In the car with sunglasses on down the top. That should do it.
Yep.
I can't get this to go live on Facebook, so we're not live on Facebook.
Oh no, figure it out.
It's just not working. So
actually,
I'd rather share the recording.
You shared a picture of me at SourceCon hugging a dolphin, so I thought if women were going to be impressed with anything, that might be it.
I did indeed, because I believe, you know, human, it's got to be human. So it's got to be done. So very, very important. So Mike, explain to those listening how we met, because it was a bit odd, wasn't it?
So we met over my, I guess my number one topic to talk about in talent acquisition these days is spam. It's everywhere. I had posted in a Facebook group, I think it was a fight spam group, and you sent me a message and said, your reply to that spam was great. Do you mind if I mention you at SourceCon? And next thing you know, you had my face up on the monitor, and I had like 30 women that sent me emails going, handsome man I've ever seen.
They saw your Cadillac first, to be fair.
That's true.
Mr. Levy's giving you a hard time down the side here.
What's Levy talking about?
It's being a bit rude.
You know what? Levy is a Hillary supporter, so I don't even want to hear what he has to say. Can we block him?
No.
So when did you first start seeing spam? Have you seen it all your whole career, 22 years, or is it kind of a more recent thing?
It's definitely, in my opinion, it's a very much a more recent thing. So, you know, to me, there's two types of recruiter spam. There's their marketing spam and there's their actual recruiting spam, right? So yeah. As far as marketing spam, when I started doing this in the agency world 22 years ago, we actually had to pick up the phone and make calls. Today, my number one pet peeve is the 10 emails a day I get addressed, dear partner. Well, first of all, I don't know you. We're certainly not partners. Here's the list of my 37 consultants that are available. Please connect with me for your CDC requirements. It's even worse when they send it to my personal email address. Like, really? Is that what I want to see on my phone on a Saturday night? So here's my response now to people that send me that email. I see this Viagra advertisement on my desktop. So every time somebody sends me one of those emails, they get a reply from me with a Viagra advertisement that says, if you're going to spam me, I'm going to spam you back.
And does anyone reply to that, or they leave it alone?
One time.
Good, so it
Not
works.
one
I gotta try that with vendors.
What's that?
I gotta try that with vendors. I got a lot of vendors.
First of all, I'm thinking Viagra owes me a commission at this point. But, you know, I'm just waiting for that one person that emails me back and says, you know what, that was very clever. Thank you.
I get stunned at how rude people are when you reply. So I sent somebody straight, and his reply back was, I hope you have a better day. And it's like, I've just given you dynamite. I've just said, if you just use my name after having typed Katrina at into the subject line or the to box, that you'd have got so much further. So I'm giving you a valuable piece of information that's going to improve what you're doing. And I get back, I hope you're having a better day. Like, oh. Sorry, Audra.
The thing about that, Katrina, is, you know, the second kind of recruiter spam, of course, is them trying to recruit you. So I've been a consultant for years and years and years. My consulting profile is all over the place. I've got a LinkedIn profile. I must get, without exaggeration, 15 to 20 emails a day that somebody's spider has picked up what I've recruited for. Do you want to be a software engineer? Do you want to be a DevOps engineer? Do you want to on and on and on? And, you know, I used to actually put some time into my responses to those. I would go on LinkedIn. I'd find out who their boss was. In some cases, if it was a small firm, it might have been the president of their company even. And I would copy them on my response, and I would basically correct them, if that's the right way to say it. You know what? This isn't the right way to recruit. You're hurting our brand as an industry by using these automated tools to pick up keywords and spam anybody who happens to have the misfortune of having a resume out on the internet. And actually, Katrina, that was an email that you picked up on, and that's how you and I connected. But, you know,
that's right, because she completely missed the point, didn't she?
And yeah, that
hadn't read your profile. All she had to do was just scan your profile. I mean, I think that's why I get so frustrated. You know, I have been a recruiter. I know I've been training for quite a while, but it doesn't take long to scan. You don't even have to read every word, but at least look at the job titles, and you're kind of going to go, it's going to say recruiter, not software engineer or whatever it might be.
Even your headline, you don't even need to go into the profile.
Well, most recruiters don't use their headline to their
full ability. I'm using these automated tools that are just picking up keywords, and because I've actually had recruiters come back to me to apologize and say, I never looked at your resume. It was all automated. But in the case, Katrina, the one that you're talking about, she actually did reply to me, and I don't remember exactly what she said, but she was kind of a smart ass about, like, you know, why are you being such a jerk in your response? Because you're wasting my time. My time is valuable, and you're wasting my time, and you're wasting my email bandwidth. And by the way, you're hurting our brand as an industry.
Yeah, and that's what it comes back to, doesn't it?
You know, it's interesting. Back, so there's a whole group of recruiters that I'm connected to socially. And we all met about 20 years ago on an online forum called technicalrecruiter.com. I don't know if anybody here has been around long enough to remember that forum, but we ended up getting into a battle with a group of computer consultants who hated recruiters. And through that experience, it was really opened our eyes as a group as to how our candidate community looked at us. And again, that was 20 years ago, before these automated tools, before spam. It was when we were actually picking up the phone, making phone calls.
Yeah. Well, I actually invited Peter Sturg is on the side here, and I take it he's in the UK at the moment, or he should be asleep, to come in, because he is a technical consultant. And so you're in Sydney? What are you doing awake, mate? Seriously. Clearly doesn't sleep anymore. But I invited him on because I'm like, actually throw some stuff at us, because it's nice to have that alternative point of view, because, you know, we're all talking recruiter to recruiter spam all the time, but, you know, it's kind of crazy, isn't it, what we're doing to people, everyone else out there.
Well, you know, if you think about it, back then they used to get annoyed at getting cold calls from us. Think about it.
Too, like, can a phone call, loads of phone calls be just as much spam?
I didn't hear the question. I'm sorry.
Like, can phone calls also be really bad spam?
I think so, of course. But my point was going to be, if they were annoyed getting cold calls from us 20 years ago, how much is our brand being damaged today when they're getting 10 or 15 or 20 emails a day from recruiters for jobs that have absolutely nothing to do with their skill set? I mean, I feel like at least when we were cold calling back in the day, we were cold calling with some knowledge of who we were calling. Now they're emailing everybody.
That's a good point.
But also our access to people was a lot smaller because we would only have our little black book, wouldn't we? Whatever our agency had, that was it. Whereas now, you know, we can access 3 billion people. Peter, I'm not understanding what you're writing down here. I get so much no content spam regarding roles. No, I wouldn't say spam for phone calls is more of a just. I don't know what you're saying. Peter, can we have that in English? I know it's late there. You might have been on the beers. Friday night, midnight.
But yeah, now you can.
Steve's off to make actual calls. That's so rude.
I can't even see the comments that Steve's making, but again, he's a liberal, so I don't pay attention to him.
Peter's not drinking. Well, I don't understand what you're saying, Pete. Needs to fill it out. It's interesting because you're really looking at it from a brand point of view. And I sometimes wonder if recruiters have forgotten that the whole, like, as I still think as an industry, we're incredibly important, even though we're sort of put there with politicians and garbage collectors. But it's like we seem to have forgotten that we are killing our reputation. So if you could, how do we do something about it then?
Well, just to comment on that, if I could, though, you know, the job of a recruiter today, in my opinion, and not all, obviously, but the ones that are working their desks this way, if you will, it takes no skill anymore. You know, I've often made the comparison that it's the same level of skill of selling Viagra or fake Rolex watches or getting somebody's uncle's $50 million out of Nigeria, right? They spam the world. If you look at those emails, if you read them, send me your name, your education level, your rate, et cetera, they're not even talking to people. They're just, I would call it almost equally spamming their clients with potential candidates. I mean, there's no skill to the job anymore. If you can operate an automated tool that reads keywords and respond to an email, all of a sudden you're a recruiter in 2017.
But it can't possibly be working.
They must get a few hits now and then just to make,
What,
but
just enough?
balance that out with all the bad reputation that they're getting.
But Katrina, if it's not working, and Audra, if it's not working, why is it going on so long?
Because it's like back in the day, well, way back in my agency days, when it was you must make X number of calls per day, and you know, the whole gun to the head recruitment, stand up at your desk rubbish. Maybe that's still happening, but now it's about how many emails you send in a day.
But again, it must be working, as Audra said. At some level, they must be getting some hits, or they wouldn't continue to do it.
Like maybe 1 in 200 reply, and they say, "Oh, it's working." But they don't think about the 199 that are now annoyed and don't want to work with them again.
And I think when you look at it, it's like these VMS type situations. You know, big companies use these VMSs. Those providers go out to, you know, 100, 200, whatever it is, recruiting firms. The rec goes out to everybody at once, and it's a race to get the first candidate in the door. And that's probably why they're doing it. I mean, to me, it's like a domino effect. Here's how the business has been set up. How do we get the fastest candidates in the door? Here's how we do it. If we send out, it's the same as selling fake Rolex watches, right? Or again, getting the FBI scams that are going on. You know, if you send out enough emails and you get 2 hits and it gets 1 candidate in the door, it was a successful campaign.
Is it the right person you're getting in the door, just the fastest in the door?
Exactly.
No,
Like, you know, and also if we're now talking about, you know, like I love talking about this age of transparency we're in. So if a company is going the RPO route, so one of my old clients went that route, and I suddenly went from being sole supplier to one of like 500, and it was useless because you couldn't get a proper relationship anymore, and you couldn't supply the best people. It was just, as you say, the fastest. But now those people who then have a really bad candidate experience are going to be out there bitching. So surely it's all just going to come, I don't know, caving in. We'll go back to old school, picking the phone up, which would be nice.
Well, they're still doing it on the marketing side too, so it's got to be working for them. well, like you said, selling watches or whatever, they're still doing it. So at some level it's working. I don't think anyone's just measuring the bad press behind it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to misconception here that I'm anti-technology, because I'm not anti-technology. Obviously, I use technical tools as well. I have email, I have social media, I have LinkedIn. There's lots of tools that I use. The point is, for me, when I first started in this business 22 years ago, I didn't even have a computer on my desk. I had a phone and a legal pad. I didn't have an email address, nothing. I had a phone and a legal pad.
Did you have a phone book, like an actual big proper U-boot?
What's that?
Did you have a phone book? Do you remember phone books? Like, the actual with numbers in them? Back in the day, Rolodex.
Exactly. But the point being is that my approach to recruiting today is still exactly the same. I want to know who the companies are that are my targets. I want to know who the people are within those companies, and I want to make contact with those people. I'm not anti-technology. Technology has made that research. Sorry, my phone's ringing. Technology has made that research easier.
Yeah.
Right? So tools like Zoom Info and Net Prospects and LinkedIn and other things to do that research. But at the end of the day, my approach to recruiting is exactly the same. I can make a couple of guarantees. Number one, nobody has ever received a voicemail or email message from me that wasn't at least close to the rec that I'm recruiting on. It might not be an exact fit, but there was at least a reason why I sent them a message. Number two, nobody's ever received a bulk email, LinkedIn campaign, whatever from me. Every message I send is individual, and every person I reach out to is, at least from my information, worth having a conversation with about Iraq. And I think in 2017, that's how you differentiate yourself as a recruiter above all this garbage, is to have that type of reputation. Because at the end of the day, all these spammers aside, we all do the same job. I might be a little bit more talented than the next guy. You might be a little more talented than I am. But at the end of the day, we're all offering the exact same product, meaning our candidates, and service, our ability to go out and find them. Your reputation is how you differentiate yourself, in my opinion.
Yeah. Peter Stagg's got a really interesting way of looking at it down here, actually. It's quite nice having someone out of industry. So emails are spammed out asking for CVs or resumes, as you guys would call them, to be sent in so the recruiter can go out to businesses and say, we have all these experienced candidates that are available. Sign here for a service contract and we'll send you some. That's really interesting. I'd not thought of it that way. Sort of like collecting them all up just to spam them back in. And Mike Townsend's service is more important now than ever. Candidates want and miss the service. Yeah, that's very true, actually, as well.
Candidates what want? I didn't hear that.
The candidates want and miss the service.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the same here, by the way, Peter. Sorry?
Or just the relationship, I think.
Yeah, because I mean, much as I'm, forever in-house teaching in-house recruiters how to recruit directly, there are still candidates out there that want the agent to be the agent, a bit like show me the money, do the negotiation and actually present them properly. There are still people who don't want to negotiate directly.
You know what's interesting is that, we used to make our living by building relationships back when we all first started doing this, right?
Yeah.
Recruiters today don't know how to do that. I'm going to tell you something. I probably adopted using Google Docs, I don't know, let's say 4 or 5 years ago, right? Every candidate that I have ever had a conversation with is on an Excel spreadsheet in Google Docs. I can't say I do it on a very regular basis, but I do it as often as I can, and I reach out for whatever reason. Katrina, how you doing? What's going on? What's going on in your career these days? Where are you? What are you doing? You know what I mean? It's about building relationships. Or if I find an interesting piece of content that has to do with the startup world, for example, I might shoot out a bunch of emails to people that I know work in startups. Whatever it is, it's about relationships. But recruiters today don't get that.
And providing value. Like you're actually giving them some value. Like this is something that would be interesting to you, which I think is pretty important too.
That's why I like things like Hello Talent, which is slightly a step up from Google Docs. So at least when you've done that initial work, you can pull in all their social profiles as well and store all the tagging, the conversations, everything, but it's not in your database. It's like in between the social web and ATS. So at least then, if you want to find something to talk to them about, you can just have a quick look at their latest blog or their latest tweet, or there are tools to make it easier. And automate that. Don't automate the friggin' emails.
Well, Katrina, different topic for a different day, but it's interesting. Somebody shared with me recently a document that was all these Chrome extensions and tools and all these things that they use.
Yeah.
And in my experience, being an old school guy, there's too many tools out there. There's too many extensions. There's too many tools. You could spend your day playing around with tools. You know what? I don't have time for that. I need to get on the phone with candidates.
Yeah, but what I'm getting at is just if you're using them right and you're not using thousands of them. Most of the messages I see, and people who've heard the show before know that I say this a lot, they're just after the email address. Whereas if you can just find that little piece of unique information to use in your call or use in the messaging, then the tools are great. But it's a quick thing. Yeah, get on the bloody phone. I'm forever saying pick the phone up.
I agree. That's an interesting point to recruiting that, again, as I look at young recruiters, I think a lot of them, even miss the boat on is, even getting on a candidate screen, it's not just about, oh, so you're a Java engineer. Let's talk about that. I always look at somebody's resume, LinkedIn profile, whatever I find on them, and find some common ground. I mean,
Well, so for example, if I was to message you, I would probably say in the subject line something like a new parking space for your Cadillac.
Yep.
Exactly. And you're going to open the email, right, and be like, what? Oh, new job, new parking space. Got it. But it's like a quirky way to go about it. And that's just people don't make the effort. And that would take me 2 seconds to work that out about you with one of those tools, the aforementioned tools, to see on Facebook, oh, look, his profile picture is a Cadillac.
Or if you called me, if you made a cold call to me and you said, Mike, I find a guy from Jersey who drives a Cadillac to be the sexiest thing in the world, you got my attention.
So unlikely I'm going to say that, Mike, but like the try. Sorry.
Mike, do you ever start reaching out to someone with an email first, or you do just always try and call them?
I do both. I would say that in recent years, in full disclosure, I probably do email more. There's a lot of tools out there to find email addresses, right? So if I can shoot somebody an email and say, hey, can we have a conversation sometime this week, and we schedule that call, it's a little less intrusive, in my opinion, than calling them at their desk or calling them as they're driving home from work or whatever that is. So I would say that personally, I've migrated more to making the initial contact by email. But if somebody doesn't reply to my email in a couple of days, I'll certainly pick up the phone.
I like Mike's comment down here, Mike Townsend. I'm calling you Mike, which is really rude. You might be Michael. I think young folks today don't get into recruiting to be their career. They use it to start and move on. And I think the other problem with that is that they go straight into it. Whereas I came into recruiting late, so I'd had some business experience. And I think we just yay, thanks, Mike. I'm typical Australian, short and everything. That without the business experience, what we do is so important. If particularly if it's permanent, we're getting people to change jobs. The knock-on effect that could be huge. And if you've never really had a job, how can you understand what it feels like to get somebody to move? And that goes back to that 22 years of doing it. You understand it. This is crucial to people. It's a big chunk of their lives.
Katrina, if you look at our business over the course of the 20 plus years that I've been doing it, we've been in 2 recessions, right? I've looked this through 2 recessions.
I'm more concerned you think I've been in it that long.
Did I say
I'm not that old. I know I just had a birthday, but
listen, 15 minutes ago when you turned 18 and you started in recruiting.
Like it.
Yeah.
Good. That's better.
But I mean, if you look at the cyclical nature of our business and the 2 recessions that we've been in and all of that, every single time this business picks up, you get the quick buck type in, right? So they used to be mortgage brokers, or they used to be car salesmen, or they used to be, pick whatever they were selling. They come into this business, they make a quick buck, and they move on. So to reference back to that comment, there's a lot of people that have gotten into recruiting over the years to make a quick buck and move on. But I respect those, like the people that are in this conversation, that have made this their careers. You know what? My income in 2009 was not what it was in 2007, but guess what? I stuck it out and I'm here.
Yeah. Oh, Mike's going. Thank you for the birthday wishes, Pete.
Do you ever see there being like a degree, like a college degree in recruitment, and maybe the way future, or do you just think that's something that will never happen?
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I do both human resources consulting and talent acquisition consulting, right? Mm-hmm. I'm always amazed when I go in and meet with a potential client, the amount of times that they ask me if I have an SPHR, do you have some sort of HR certification? That HR certification has absolutely zero to do with my ability to recruit candidates. I do have some, and I don't want to throw anybody's brand out there and be negative about it, but I do have some recruiting certifications. To me, they were elementary when I took them. They were things that I learned 20 years ago. I mean, I don't see value in any of that. I don't know if there's a college course that could actually teach this. I don't remember the details, but I think Shally is teaching something, or was, at Temple University around talent acquisition. But no,
because I just don't think people choose it as a career. They kind of fall into it. But I think that the connector skills and the relationship building skills and all that kind of stuff, it's either you've got it or you haven't. I don't know that you can learn it.
Good point.
I mean, I didn't get into this on purpose. My prior career was in casino gaming. You know, I was the guy in the suit on the casino floor taking care of the high rollers. And I moved to Vegas, actually, from New Jersey to Las Vegas, got out of gaming and got into recruiting. But I didn't know what I was getting into. My first job in recruiting was in the sales section of the newspaper. And you know what? I said, listen, I'm basically a salesperson for the casino. I can do this. And I went in and interviewed for the job. I had no idea what I was interviewing for.
Yeah. It's interesting where Mark's writing down the side there, isn't it? Mark Lundgren, I still can't say your surname, it's so embarrassing. One of these days, that sales as a profession is similar. It is, everyone just falls into it. Yeah. Mind you, at least there are sales and marketing degrees, aren't there? So, oh, there you go. He's just written the same thing. There are a few degrees.
Also similar in the sense that I think you have a sales personality or you don't. You can learn it a little bit, but you're not going to, like, I would never be a great salesperson, just not in me.
Yeah. Because I'm a networker, not I can't go out and just cold call and do all that stuff for her.
I'll be frank on this topic. You know, I do nothing but corporate consulting. I haven't been in an agency environment for years. But you know what? I don't like to see folks that go from the HR path into the talent acquisition path because they're too compliance focused and they don't have the personality that we're talking about to actually be, you know, at the end of the day, there are sales folks that are out there selling your product or service. And there's your recruiters that are selling your company to candidates. And a lot of times people that have taken the HR course into talent acquisition don't come to the table with that skill set. I'll pay more money and hire an agency recruiter over an HR person any day.
It depends on the HR person, to be fair. So they are shifting, and there's been quite a shift in the last few years, and how they have to behave, because they have to go out and talk to the business and things like that now. So I agree in the main, but at the same time, because I teach so many in that space, I'm seeing such a shift. I love this from Matt. So when I took HR management as an undergrad, the recruiting topic took up half of one lecture during the semester.
Wow.
Holy shit.
That's so much.
Well, you know, and that even from a business perspective. You know, I have a client that I'm negotiating with right now, contacted me and said, I need an HR consultant. And I said, great, let's get on a call and talk about what you need. So he said, you know, 50% of this person's role is going to be compliance and benefits and all of that. And the other 50% of the role is going to be talent acquisition. Yeah. And I always make the argument that it's two completely different skills. Yeah. Don't expect me to find you an HR generalist that's going to be a great talent acquisition person. And don't expect me to find you a great talent acquisition person that's going to be a great HR generalist. It's two very different functions. In fact, I had a consulting engagement a few years ago with a mid-market manufacturing company, and we had to re-engineer their HR function. And establish their internal talent acquisition function. So I went to the CEO and the board of directors, who assumed that the VP of HR was going to oversee everything. And I had to make the case to them, no, absolutely not. HR and talent acquisition should stand next to each other, but it's two different skill sets. It's two different areas. It's not the same. Everybody loves that into one category, and it's not.
No, they're not. I definitely agree with that. I'm just saying that there are some that maybe haven't come the compliance route through HR that end up making great recruiters. But you're right. No, I definitely don't think they should do the two. I also think the other thing I found when I was internal was that you play an interesting game because you're selling to the candidate and you're selling to the hiring manager, and it's a bit of, you've almost got to stay neutral, and it's really hard to, because you can get really drawn into the candidate and really wanting to get them in. And at the same time, you're trying to get your hiring manager. And it's like, it's a fun game.
Well,
so, I agree. Then I came from the agency side.
At the end of the day, in my opinion, good recruiters have a sales personality. So our sales personality dictates that we're going to do what we need to do to get to point A, from point A to point B. Yeah. HR folks are checking off boxes, right? So in my opinion, you're rolling your eyes. So to any of Katrina's clients that
No. I was rolling my eyes at the comment. I was sorry. Somebody wrote, wait, there's a degree in Star Wars and there isn't one in recruiting and TA. That's what I was rolling my eyes at.
But, at the end of the day,
sorry.
A sales personality that's gonna drive to get from point A to point B. Yeah. And an HR personality or an HR thought process that's going to be checking boxes through the process. That's just my experience.
Yeah. I mean, I am pleased to share that HR aren't so much in the ticking boxes anymore. And I think part of that's come around with that age of transparency I talk about all the time, that they can't be like that anymore. And it's not just the millennials.
It probably depends on the size of the company too, I think. Really big companies with huge benefits departments, I think he's still right. But I actually had this argument with Shally a few years ago where I was saying that recruiters are salespeople and he was saying they're not. And he was saying they're not selling anything. And I was saying, no, they are. They're selling the company and as a place to work. But we didn't come to any conclusion.
Maybe that's because he teaches a lot more sources and they just tend to do the hunt. Whereas, going back to our original thing about the messaging, I assume when you're sending a message to someone to get them on a call, Mike, you're doing something salesy to get their attention.
My messages are very simple and to the point and very short. I introduce who I am. I give a blurb on the company that I'm working on. I give a link to the job description. I ask them for a call, and I end the message with, if you're not currently open to considering opportunities, or this is not an opportunity you'd be interested in considering, I wish you all the best. And I ask that you consider passing my message on to anyone that would be potentially interested interested and qualified for the role. And I'm actually just telling a young sourcer this the other day, that's the point of action, right? So you're not asking someone, give me 5 names. You're saying, hey, very simply, hey, pass my message along.
So interestingly, and I'm not surprised John came up on this one. So do you ever give the company name up front? You've already said you do. So I get this argument all the time. We can't do that, but you obviously have good relationships with your clients.
Well, so here's the difference. I'm not a third-party recruiter. I'm not an agency recruiter. I'm actually working with the company as a consultant. So in a lot of cases, I've got a team of people that are working on a project, or we're in establishing an internal recruiting function within a company, or we're re-engineering or whatever it is. So the fact is, a lot of times I've got an email address that goes back into their domain. I'm representing myself. I never lie. My message usually starts with, my name is Mike. I'm a consultant with XYZ company, whatever it is. But no, it's full disclosure. And usually, again, with a domain back, because I'm representing as a consultant, not as a third party. On the rare occasion when I'll do like a retained search or something, no, I don't share the company name. Usually what I'll do is share the link to the job description from my own careers page.
Yeah. Okay, now I understand. Sorry. So you're a bit like an RPO.
Yeah.
Except you actually do it yourself.
Another topic again for another day, but I feel that years ago, the national staffing organizations bastardize the RPO term. So I don't use the term RPO, but if you want to make that comparison,
Yeah, no, my experience of it was bad as well. Yeah. So hence I said it. So great comments going on down the side here. So Peter Thompson, recruiters are brokers. They sell the job to the candidate and sell the candidate to the client. Yeah, absolutely. And whichever side they're on either, because I've done exactly that in-house. And Peter's written it's based on trust, good relationship with the recruiter, company names are often shared. Yeah.
And that's the point. How can you build a good relationship with somebody, to bring this full circle? How can you build a great relationship with somebody when you spam them an email that says, send me your name, your resume, your rate, and a blurb on your background,
Yeah.
I can't believe anyone responds to those. They must be really desperate.
Years
then that goes back to you're getting the quickest, not the best.
Right. You're getting the most desperate that are out.
Yeah.
Early in my career, and I'll name the company because they're not in existence anymore, but early in my career, and I'm talking 18 years ago, I was on a consulting gig with a company called Micon Gaming Corporation, and we had a ton of engineering needs, and I was the only recruiter there, and I was using outside agencies. And this was in the early days of like Monster and Career Builder, and everybody was pulling resumes off job boards. And it was amazing to me even back then when I would get on the phone with a candidate and I would say, Katrina, you're the recruiter. What did Katrina tell you about Micon Gaming? Well, nothing. Katrina and I didn't talk. She sent me an email when she found my resume off Monster. And, she sent the resume. And, I would always call that recruiter and say, you know what? I'm not going to pay you for a candidate that you have not picked up the phone and had a conversation with. So in the case of Micon, I actually, because the one thing I do, and third-party recruiters hate this, I always have my clients develop an internal agreement that they send out to the recruiting firms that they work with, not sign recruiting firm agreements. That way we have consistent terms across the board. But the one thing I had Micon do in that case was put in their agreement, if you have not talked to a candidate, we're not paying a fee.
See, I've had it happen with a certain client where I spent an hour interviewing this woman, sent her over, and they're like, oh, we've already had the CV. And she hadn't even spoken to the other agency. And they went with the other agency. So it's like it does take both sides.
On the Recruiters That Make Placements Facebook page, there was just a long thread about this because somebody on that just had that exact thing happen. They spent a lot of time getting somebody through the process. And then at the end of the process, the client popped up and said, oh, another firm had submitted them a couple of months ago. But, again, interesting caveat,
without talking to them.
Well, exactly. And a lot of recruiting firms will have candidates sign a right to represent. And when that first started becoming prevalent, I didn't quite understand it, but now I get it because there are recruiters out there that are submitting candidates without their permission and without ever talking to them, and it causes problems. So,
as I was doing a few years back, I was doing an in-house contract, and I couldn't get over how many CVs got specced in. And then you go, excellent, we want to interview that person, and they'll be like, oh, no, they're not available, and suddenly be looking for someone else, and then just go dead quiet. It is like, I cannot believe you do that. How is that a good use of your time?
Well, part of
every single time. Sorry, it's gone really dark here.
Is the companies that are engaging with recruiters, it's their fault as well because they're not selective enough, and they'll just throw a rec out to as many recruiting firms as they can. Here's what I do. When I work with third-party recruiters, and I don't always, but when I do, I will set up a small vendor list by specialty. These are the 2 or 3 firms that I want to work with, for example, for sales roles. These are the 2 or 3 roles that I want to work with, for example, for engineering roles. And, I have relationships with those 2 or 3 firms. And I set up metrics. If you got to continue to perform if you want to continue to do business with us. But at the end of the day, if any other recruiters are sending me candidates or marketing to me, I've got a small vendor list. I work with a few vendors. That's it. If you really want to get this candidate in front of me, call Katrina, see if she'll do a split with you. Like I really
what about hiring managers though, because that's where I had the problem with this company. I ended up walking away because it was like, this is never going to change. But the hiring manager is not giving me time. Sorry, I don't know if the echoing is in line with the storm we're about to get hit with. Sorry.
So it's so dark.
Yeah, it's like dog walk time and it's gone really dark. Excellent. So my problem is the hiring managers wouldn't give me the time either, and then they would backdoor candidates in via other agencies. How did you control them? Much as that has nothing to do with messaging.
You have to have C-level buy-in. So one of the reasons that I work in the startup and mid-market space is that I feel like you can get in front of the CEO of a mid-market company, sit down, have the conversation, gain their trust, allow them to trust in your expertise. As long as you have C-level buy-in, you can usually overcome those challenges. I have a client that I'm working with right now that I helped them implement an ATS system, just as an example. This client spent $80,000 on an ATS, and we have hiring managers that aren't using it. And the C-suite will not dictate that these hiring managers use a database and the company just spent $80,000. So when I walk into a consulting engagement day one, I have to know that I have C-level buy-in. If I don't have C-level buy-in, we're probably not going to move on.
Wow, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I have one question for you, a slightly off-related topic. So it seems like you're very good at the sales kind of stuff. So I'm curious about if you have any tips on closing. It's not something I do, but I mean, I think a lot of our audience is interested. Sort of the final close to...
Closing candidates?
Yeah.
Again, I'm not going to try and come off as any kind of expert, so I'll only tell you what I do.
Yeah.
And it's always worked for me, and I would say that my closing ratio is pretty high, is I reiterate what it's going to take to close a candidate in every conversation. So I'll phone screen a candidate, I'll submit them, they get their first interview. When I'm getting the feedback from that interview with the candidate, I reiterate. So you told me you'd make a change for this dollars. This is why you want to make a change. Has any of that changed? I have that conversation through every contact I have with the candidate. So then when it comes to closing the candidate, when I'm going to make them an offer, my approach is, okay, so when we first spoke on June 2nd, you told me you were looking for 120K, and here's why you wanted to make the move. So great news. I was able to get you 120K. The reasons that you said you wanted to make a move, let's check off these boxes. I'm going to be able to get you ABC. Here's the culture. Here's the work that you're going to be doing, all of that. So I have those conversations all the way through the process. And then when it's time to close the candidate, it's hard for them to say no when you're feeding back to them all the reasons why they said they wanted to make a change, including compensation.
And the check-in is important.
I'm sorry?
I love the check-in because like things can change just from week to week or day to day. You never know. Something could change. So I love that you're making sure you don't miss that.
And at the end of the day, we all know people don't normally just change jobs for money. So you got to close them on the person side's money.
Yep. Absolutely.
I think that people don't just change for money. So I don't think they're teaching all this stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. Who's responsible to teach it? Outside trainers or
I guess it depends, again, I mean, I do a lot in the in-house space because that's growing. It's, teams are being built up. So really it's the responsibility of the recruitment managers to teach that kind of stuff. But then it depends where they've got their recruitment managers from. I mean, I'm still shocked that
I think that everybody
both sides really.
I'm sorry. I was saying, I think everyone that enters the business should be given a mentor. Be that a team mentor, be that a manager, be that whatever it is. And we're the ones that should be teaching that. I mean, I'm really proud that I've mentored a lot of young recruiters in my career. And Katrina, one of them works for the company on the social media where you and I met. Another one is a recruiting manager for a national company. A lot of these young recruiters that I've mentored have been very successful. And it's because you touch kids every day and you spend time with them and you teach them the things that we were taught back in the day. In 2017, if you could teach somebody to be an old school recruiter, you're almost guaranteed success because there's almost no old school recruiters left out there anymore.
I like it.
Except Steve Levy, he's just old.
He's just old, yeah.
I think being an older recruiter does help. Sorry, incoming. So internal HR teams are not sales-minded, so don't think about closing. Oh, yeah, I disagree. It depends on the team. Huh?
Well, if that's the case, then they're not very good. I think they should be.
Yeah, I mean, it really does depend on the team. I see great variances. You know, I see companies who lash out for recruiter licenses on LinkedIn so they can advertise. And you're going, you've got a sourcing tool. Like, what are you doing? Oh, no, I can't do that.
You know what? I'm not doing this for the practice. I don't need the practice anymore. So
yeah.
If I'm not closing all the way, what's the point?
Yeah.
You know, passed over something you were saying about tools. I wanted to share with you a quick story. So I had a client reach out to me, and they wanted me to do team sourcing, right? So I went in and I taught their team sourcing, and what were they doing today? So what they were doing today was they were buying lists, and they had this blast software that they were just blasting out emails to these people based on these lists that they were buying. So
that's this year, 2017?
It was 2017.
Oh my God.
Well, I started with 2016, but yeah. So number one, they were completely oblivious to the fact that most likely their emails were going into spam filters. Like email clients today actually do catch that. And number two, how easy it actually was to find names within their vertical and use tools like Email Hunter and Profit, etc., to find the email address. And they thought I was a freaking genius. Oh my God, Mike, you're the smartest guy in the world. You actually know how to go out and find names. And I was just like, Jesus, nobody today knows how to do that anymore.
Yeah. Sometimes they don't even know how to Google to get the answer to do something.
Well, it's funny. That's another case. I was helping another client find psychologists and psychiatrists for part-time work, right? And I was putting the names into Google. Most of them were in independent practice. Most of them had their own homemade WordPress website. And guess what? Every one of them had their email address on their website. I got them 300 names and email addresses in a week. It was easy, right? And it's like, wow, I'm not a genius. That's how we were taught to do it.
Yeah.
So who taught you? Your mentor? Yeah.
Sorry?
So who taught you? It was like a mentor, or did you get any kind of more formal training?
No, just a mentor in my first couple of jobs. Yeah.
Same.
I mean,
Audra, can you read out Peter's comment? Because I don't want to echo through the whole thing.
It's too long. I can't be bothered.
No, it's important though.
Okay. So he's saying, in response to previous discussion topic. So we discussed this earlier. Okay. GDPR. I don't know what that means.
It's coming.
Oh.
It's about data and stealing data, basically.
Yep. GDPR rules in Europe from May 2018 should help prove traceability of candidate source into an organization. Also, the fact that the company has a CV from a previous period doesn't mean that the relationship with the candidate, that they had a relationship with the candidate, or that they were working with the candidate prior to them hiring.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
a good thing. But there's also going to be, all of these brilliant data mining tools that we're using will be a problem in Europe. Because you won't be allowed to.
Anything about that?
Right. Huh?
That's interesting. I don't know anything about that. This is the first I'm hearing of this.
Yeah, no, it's amazing how few companies know about it, and it's coming. It's only a year away.
Yep.
So, for example, if I was to go out to Zoom show and say, these are all the people in Katrina's company, I won't be able to do that in the UK anymore?
I'll let Peter answer that. I'm not an expert.
Sounds like it. Wonder if that'll happen over here. I haven't heard anything.
I guess that's going to make Monster.com stock go through the roof, huh?
I think people will just pick the phone up and call, so there's no trace of it. Might go back around the full circle. Don't know. But coming back to the whole messaging thing, so we end as we were meant to go. Yeah, I'm sorry to echo something words, Peter.
Getting harder and harder to understand.
I think it's because we've had a storm. I'm sorry.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I'm curious too. If you just had one tool that you really do like, what would that be? What if you could only pick one?
You know, probably, so Lucia is one tool that I pay for. I do have a recruiter account. I do have a Zoom info account. So, you know, again, I'm gathering names like we used to do on the phone 20 years ago, using tools like Zoom info, and then usually a combination of like Email Hunter, Lucia, and I don't know why the third one just escaped me, to find email addresses and phone numbers and other information to reach out. So it's a combination of those tools. But
Contact Out's really good.
I'm sorry?
Contact Out is really good.
I'm going to have to write that one down. I'm not familiar with that one.
I like that one. But again, that's easy. You've always been able to find out the email. I call up reception and ask. But it's how you write that message. And I think that's the art that's been lost. Like I was saying with the, you know, the obscure subject line or the content of the message just enough to get someone to respond, which I think we've covered quite well. But
when you say call the receptionist and ask them, you know, that brings up a whole topic for me. As much as recruiter spam is my pet peeve today, 20 years ago, my pet peeve was all those ruses. So call the receptionist and tell them that you met the director of IT at a conference and he gave you his business card, but you misplaced it. And come up with a bullshit story that's deep enough that, you know, she'll just say, fine, here's his email address. Like, I never liked lying. I just never like to lie. I feel like that karma comes back to you at some point.
yeah. I think Peter's comment here that the best tool for a recruiter is time. Time to read a CV resume. So you don't present a role that isn't close to their skills. Just reading 3 emails wanting me to do, oh, sorry, he's just complaining about emails he's reading. Yeah. But yeah, take the time. Yeah. I think we're going to have to close this because of the stupid echo. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, there's an echo.
It's crazy.
So, ladies out there, Michael is semi-single. How do they reach you? LinkedIn? Hit you up on LinkedIn?
What was the relationship status? It's complicated.
Yes.
Listen, the first woman that ever hits on me on the LinkedIn will be my hero. After this conversation I had earlier with women complaining they were getting it on with LinkedIn, that's my number one goal in life right now. I'm going to hit on me via LinkedIn.
I've never been hit on LinkedIn.
No, I haven't either. That shows our profile pictures aren't very good.
Yeah. Need to sort that out.
Yep.
Crazy. But anyway. So yeah. But Mike, thank you so much.
What's the website you said where they can find job? You have like kind of own job board, you said, on your website?
Jobs.humancapitalconsultants.com.
Awesome.
Say that again.
I'm sorry, I said it in American English. I don't know how to say it in English.
Jobs.
Humancapitalconsultants.com.
Awesome. I just thought it'd be nice to hear it again. So next week, just to confuse everyone, we're on Thursday because we're trying to take over the Air Force show again. Oh, sorry, I'm losing the dog. And we have Aaron Daniels on. It's also Guru Extraordinary. And we're going back to basics with some Boolean basics. So that should be a hell of a lot of fun.
That'd be good.
Mike, thank you again.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
For my source on presentation and for all of the information today.
Yep.
Audra, thank you. Sorry about the echo. I don't know what the hell it was. Storm, London, very dark. Thank you for all the comments in the side too, guys. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for joining, everyone.
So Thursday next week.
Yep.
Bye, guys. Bye.